All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You have probably one of the most interesting founding stories that I've heard probably ever, right? And so I just wanted to start off by if you could just tell that like right away.
Okay, so I'm Cristina Fonseca. I'm one of the Talkdesk co-founders. And basically, Talkdesk exists today because we were trying to win a MacBook Air.
They were going to give you a good one, right? Not just like the standard issue one?
It was a small one, actually, but that didn't matter. We were like really excited to win that computer. And we decided to take that as an excuse to build a prototype of Talkdesk in 10 days. It worked, it was amazing. The design was beautiful. So at the end, we were really proud of the result. And we were really confident we were going to get the computer. Mm-hmm. That happened. And when that happened, we started to receive really good feedback online about the product, that we decided, OK, here is our opportunity, because before that, me and Tiago, we were trying to come up with an idea that could result in a business, but we never thought call centers, of course. Mm-hmm. That's kind of, we were naive enough to take that challenge. But yes, it was how Talkdesk started.
So just a quick show of hands. Who here uses a call center with their company? And OK.
I guess the question is, who provides phone support for customers?
OK. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Talkdesk does specifically?
OK, so Talkdesk allows, at the beginning, the idea was that if you want to create a call center or if you want to provide phone support to your customers, it's very difficult for you to have a platform that, for example, connects with the services you already use. So most of the times you have a database or you have a CRM or you are answering customers' emails. And when you get a phone call, you are completely blind, because you have a lot of information in a sort of different places, but it's not connected. So with Talkdesk, you can see everything about a customer when that customer is calling. Mm-hmm. You can see the information it's in your CRM. You can see previous emails. You can see the history. We record calls, and we do like a lot of advanced call center functionality. But the initial idea was, I want to be able to see everything about who is calling. And I want to get information about the other services I'm using in the company.
So call centers are definitely not dead, then?
No, not really. Actually, call centers are more and more important these days, because 20 years ago, only big companies had a call center. And for you to, let's say, book a plane, you had to call a company. Then the internet came, and 10 years ago, it was like, oh, you can do everything online. You just go, fill a form. It was everything online, and phone was kind of going down. Companies were not using the phone that much. And now everything is real time. So you use like Uber, you use DoorDash, you use all those services, and you want like real-time interactions. Oh, I lost my phone is not a very good example, but I lost something, or my food is cold. I want a human, and I want to speak with someone right now. So, and the customer's expectations have evolved, but the technology, the call center industry and the phone industry has been dominated by legacy systems from 20 years ago. And we've been introducing like a very nice interface, a beautiful interface with a modern solution that takes care of that problem for today's companies.
And you also have another interesting part of your company, which is you're sort of split between the United States and Europe. And I'm kind of curious, how do you manage that, not only now, but as you're going to continue to grow? Because I'm sure that there are a lot of companies out there that are dealing with a similar issue.
So I guess that's one of our biggest challenges, because so we are both Portuguese founders, and we went to the US like early stage, but then from the beginning we had operations on both sides.
And how is it split? Is it engineering and...
Yeah, so one of the reasons why we did an accelerator program in the US and then I moved back to Lisbon, because the engineering talent is easier to find in Portugal. So we created this engineering hub in Lisbon, and then of course there's other teams there. And when we needed, especially sales and marketing, the US was the obvious choice because like the market is bigger there, companies are more willing to adopt new solutions there. So and it's 8 hours difference. Of course, we use a lot of technology to manage that, like Slack, like different tools. A lot of phone calls. If you go to the Portuguese office at like 6 p.m., there's a lot of calls going on. Same thing at the other side. We fly people from one location to the other in order to enhance collaboration. And I guess that's one of the challenges of the future, because that's actually an advantage being in these locations. I think disruptive companies, or even if they don't born global, at some point they need to have a global operation. And right now, for example, we have support 24/7, for example.
And that was from day one?
That was from day one, not because we assumed it, but it was because we would pick up the phone or answer emails at any time.
Like you personally, you're just like...
Like me personally, yes, or Tiago in the US. I remember from the early days, Dropbox is one of our customers. And they are based in Dublin, the team that interacts with us. And I was like their account manager from day one. If they would like email or call or whatever, I would pick up the phone no matter what time was that. So
what's like the latest you ever had to pick up the phone for them?
I remember doing a call at like 3:30 a.m. for a very important customer in the US. It was like a really big implementation, and one of our team members left. So I was like doing calls at really weird hours. It's what you do, what you have to do at the beginning. Right now we are at a point where we have a big team. So in the last year we went from 15 people to 140.
Oh wow!
So now we have a nice operation. But
how did you handle scaling that up, though? I mean, you know, as you grow bigger and bigger, I imagine the culture of the company could potentially change, right? And especially as it's kind of split between Europe and the United States. How do you manage that and help it and ensure that it kind of grows without changing too rapidly?
I think we gave up, like trying to. Like we assume things will change because the company is not the same. We have so many people joining, and that's very nice because we have a lot of diversity. We have people with different backgrounds, different experiences. So that's positive. But of course, that made the company change in the last year. During the first 3 years, we were all engineers. So you can guess, like when you had sales and marketing and all that, things change a bit. And also in terms of the market we are addressing and the customers we are trying to get, now we are going a bit more enterprise. We are tackling like mid-market and the enterprise sector. So you need to have a lot of things in place in order for that to happen.
And so tell me a little bit about the tech scene in Lisbon. You know, you're saying that that's where most of your engineering base is, right? Where are you finding all of that talent?
So Lisbon is a pretty interesting country because, like my parents' generation, they went abroad to have better lives. And then they told us, all you need to do is to be a good student, to find a job in the government or in a big corporation that's solid, so you have a job for life. And that's not true anymore. So there's a lot of talent that are like, because the government is not secure anymore or the big corporations are not that stable, a lot of people are like finding other opportunities. And also we have very good engineering schools. So combining all that makes like startups really appealing for those people that like some of the good engineers, what they are looking for a smart team, they are looking for an interesting project. And given that we have this global presence, it's very interesting for them to join such a company. So I guess there's a combination of factors in Lisbon.
And as you continue to scale up, and especially on the sales and customer success side, how do you manage the kind of cultural differences of these countries internationally? I mean, I'm sure like France is a little bit different than the United Kingdom, which is a little bit different than Spain, right? And that requires, does that require like a different set of talent, and where are you finding that?
Yeah, so we are doing a mix of different things. We are, first of all, relocating people when we need to. We are because we are growing like crazy with these numbers. We are either like considering expanding our operation to other locations. That's one of the things. And we are also relocating some people to either to Portugal or to the San Francisco office, so we can have that diversity that gives us the skills in order to deal with, for example, I know selling in the UK and the US, it's not the same. So we are looking to hire salespeople here that can understand the local market. Same thing with customer success. For example, we have customers in more than 50 countries. Some of them, like for example, Australia. We just hired someone for customer success that's from Australia, so she can, and the other team members sometimes don't really understand the interactions, but they work because the people understand the local environments. And that's very important. Like one of the reasons why we were able to, because we provide a real-time service. So if you trust us to implement your phone line, if Talkdesk goes down, like we are in trouble. So we had to make sure the customer service we provide is amazing.
And as you continue to scale up, you know, I imagine because Lisbon is kind of a newish, is that right? It's kind of a newish tech scene. Where are you finding the kind of management talent to help that company grow without it kind of sprawling out of control or something like that?
Yeah, so that's a big challenge because we have very good engineers and very good like doers. The management side, it's difficult to find because most of the management that exists in the country like worked for a corporation for a lot of years. So what we are doing right now is we are trying to attract international talent. We are taking advantage of the very good weather, the food, the wine, and all the environment Portugal has to offer. And then because the project is interesting itself, we are relocating people even from the US to Portugal. And
include and throughout Europe as well?
Yeah, like everywhere. It's like one of the major challenges I'm trying to tackle right now is to attract like management to go to Portugal.
What's like your pitch to them over the phone when you're talking to them for the first time? Is it just like, oh yes, like we live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, or what are you saying to them?
So of course that helps, but also our engineering team is very good, and that the product is complex in terms of technology. And I guess the click is when they interact with the team. So at some point, I like those guys to interact with our engineers, and then it's kind of easy for them to understand the potential.
So you guys have raised a pretty considerable amount of money this year. Was that process like a little bit different given the fact that you were a split company? Like, were they kind of a little bit wary that you guys just weren't based in Silicon Valley when you were talking to your investors?
So Tiago, the other founder, is based in the US. So that's the interactions are like in presence and everything. But I guess investors see this presence in Europe and in Lisbon as an advantage because they know like we are at a stage right now where we sell ourselves and that's our vision to create to be like the player in terms of call centers for the future. So, and we are not going to do that only in the US. So, and our customer base proves that. We have customers in a lot of countries, like Australia, Middle East, Europe, US, Brazil. So our investors recognize that this global base we have is an advantage. Like no company can scale only in the US, either because you cannot get the engineering talent, or you cannot get you'll have to outsource your support operations, for example, to let's say India, and with that you also lose the part of the very good customer experience we are trying to focus on.
Where do you think you'll have to expand to next in order to scale up like your customer success team or something like that? Like, do you already have certain countries in mind?
Not really. Like UK is kind of an obvious choice for us, especially in terms of sales. And then we have South America, like Brazil. It's also another. There's a big opportunity right there. There's no obvious player. There's like countries that are growing a lot in terms of startups and the tech scene with huge markets. So that's another obvious choice. But we don't have like really short-term plans other than like making the operations a bit more solid, both in the US and in Portugal, London, and Europe itself.
And you guys plan on staying like that, like being in both Portugal and the US, right? There's no scenario where everyone would kind of have to like get up and ship over to Silicon Valley or something like that.
I don't think so.
What advice generally do you have for people in the audience, just in terms of like running a company in the similar way that you guys have?
So, of course, we did a lot of mistakes, but we were a startup battlefield startup in 2012, and at that point, we were like a really small team focused on the product, and we kept like that for 2.5 years. That was both good and bad. It was good because that was the only focus. We were not focused like on raising money or do business development or whatever. We were just trying to get the product right by speaking really close with companies, with potential customers. And then we had to scale really quick in order to be the player. So if it was today, I think we would have done things a bit earlier, like hiring a couple of sales folks, hiring marketing more early stage. So that was a mistake. So we need to take risks, and sometimes we are afraid of going the next step. So that's something that startups should pay attention to.
Are you guys raising any more money right now to help expand?
No, like not actively, but of course our operation is so big that of course we need to always be looking at the different scenarios we have ahead. But the answer is no.
Okay. So what's next on the roadmap for you guys?
What's next on the roadmap? So we started with phone, but Talkdesk, we are trying to be the real-time communication platform for businesses. So with phone, chats, email, that's like companies use a lot of different services to communicate with customers, and we want to be the platform they use. And then there's other things like video as well. It's another one of those challenges we wanna do. Another thing is,
what do you mean by video?
for example, let's say either you can interact with video with companies. Instead of phone, you can show them, oh, okay, I imagine you have you have a broken part you want to fix, and you are interacting with a company that sold you that part, and you can show them on video. Okay, here is the thing I'm trying to explain. So, for example, you go to an hospital or an office, and instead of you having an assistant there, you have a virtual assistant that can be in that space or in another space, depending on demand. So there's a lot of use cases and innovation we want to bring to this industry, which like the big players are not doing right now. And then there's also the Talkdesk everywhere thing, which is like Salesforce is one of our strategic partners and investors, and that happened because a lot of our customers use Salesforce and they want to use Talkdesk inside Salesforce. So we are also trying to be this everywhere call center that can plug into the system you are already using, and you start making and receiving calls or videos or sending messages to your customers. And another cool thing is data, which is the thing right now. So imagine you making real-time decisions with the data you have about your customers, and Talkdesk making you suggestions, or for example, I don't know, routing the call to the most experienced sales guy if you are an awesome customer and a big business.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.